Hi, and welcome to another video by Get It Done Home Repairs. Today we're going to talk about what do you do when you have old technology in your house and you no longer want it there. By old technology, I mean something like this. This is the old telephone that used to be here way back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, whenever, but it's old technology that now is not even used any longer. Everybody today has got a cell phone. Very few people use a landline anymore. But what do you do when you have something like that in your wall and you just don't want it there anymore? It's an eyesore, for sure. Most people, including myself, we hung a calendar over this to cover it up until I had the opportunity to go ahead and fix it. Well, today I'm going to show you how you can get in here, remove it, patch it up, spackle it, and it'll be like that was never there before. You'll never even know it was there. And it'll be a permanent patch where you won't have to worry about it, years down the road showing up as a square little hole in the wall that's been patched up. All right, so I'm going to show you what you're going to need to use, how we're going to do it, and then we're just going to go right through it and we're going to get it finished. I will tell you this, you're going to need to get a piece of drywall because we're going to need to patch this hole that's in the drywall right here. Now, you don't have to go buy a full sheet of a drywall. You can go to the big box stores and you can buy just a 2x2 piece of drywall and you can cut out the patch that you're going to need to put on here. Now I'm going to show you what kind of tools you're going to need. I'm going to show you how I patch it, and a lot of other people do it differently, but I find this is the easiest way to do it, and it comes out perfect. All right, so let me bring you in. I'll show you what kind of tools we're going to need, and then we're going to get started and we're going to get this done. Okay, so the first thing we're going to need, of course, is going to be a flathead screwdriver. Right there, it's Phillips, but it's a flathead. We're going to take out this. We're going to take out this. While we're in here, we're also going to repair this. I don't know what that is. Somebody left a screw in the wall for some reason, probably some type of a phone that was connected on it, but we're going to fix that while we're in here as well. All right, and this is what you're going to need to get this job done. You're going to need a couple of spackling tools like this. The size is going to depend on what you feel comfortable using. Most of the time I don't use something like that. I'll use one of these two right here. We're going to use some drywall spackle. It's actually a non-shrinking. You're going to pay a little bit more for it, but it's non-shrinking, so you don't have to worry about years down the road that patch showing up. We're going to need something, possibly a pair of wire clippers. We may need a screwdriver, a utility knife. We may need some tape, a couple of screwdrivers. Of course, we're going to need something to make our measurements, and of course the drywall, which we have in the garage. All right, so let's get in there and let's get started and get this job done. All right, now the first thing we're going to do, let's zoom you in so you can see a little bit closer. You don't need to see me, you just need to see what I'm doing. Okay, that'll work. Okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our utility knife and we're going to score around it just like this, because it may have been painted to the wall numerous times, and we want to try to minimize the damage to the wall itself. Okay, next we're going to come in here with our screwdriver and we're just going to take out the screw just like that. Okay, next we'll just take this off, just like that, and we can gain access to everything underneath the bottom right here. We're going to take this plastic out because we're no longer going to need it. We have to access the screws down below. Should be two of them holding it in, which there is here. Next we'll take this and pull this out as well. Okay, get rid of that. We don't need any of this stuff because this is, as I said, this is all ancient technology and not used any longer. So we'll just pull this out. Same thing here. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is I got like a whole nest of wiring in here, which of course we don't need any longer. We're going to take some of that 1970s wallpaper off. We don't need that any longer. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to get in here and we're going to take this piece here out of the wall. Okay, as I said, this is all ancient technology. You really don't have a use for it anymore, but it's all inside the walls here. So we're just going to take this for now. We'll just keep it right there. Let's take out this metal piece right in here. And usually the way you would get that out is it's screwed into the beam or into the stud at some point. So we're just going to pry it out a little bit. Okay. Now we're going to try to get it out. I don't know if we're going to be able to, but we'll see. Okay, that's the one piece. Could you drop it in the wall? Sure you can. I'm just trying to get it out of here so we have a cleaner, neater job. Okay, there we go. Now, most of this is all not even in use any longer, but if you're not sure, it runs up through the attic and then out to the outside, which has all been disconnected. At this point, you can just snip this off. We don't really have a use for this any longer. Just make sure that the wires are all disconnected, so that way when you cut into it, you're not causing any problems for yourself. Make sure everything is disconnected first. All right, so next we're going to come in here. We're going to just square this off here so we could put a piece of drywall in there. We're going to take that out there, and we're going to take this out here as well. Okay, the whole thing is just spinning in the wall, so we're not going to be able to get that out of there too easily. This one here is the same thing. It's mushroomed behind the wall. So we are going to come in here. We're going to cut it out here, all the way down across here, just like that. All right, so let's get a straight line so we can cut this, and we'll take that piece out. Okay, so now we have our straight edge, and we're going to come in here and we're going to measure from the top down to below that screw right there, and we're going to do that for 7 inches because we want to clear it a little bit. We drew our line. Right. Next we come up on the top here, and we're going to bring it over to the edge right here, which is 3 inches. Going to draw a line. We're going to come down over here, and we're going to measure over 3 inches, which is right there. And then we're going to connect them together. Just like that. The thing we're going to do is we're going to take our utility knife and we're going to score it just a little bit so we don't do too much damage to the drywall itself. So we're going to cut it right across that line, just like that, just to cut the outside paper on the drywall. Same thing down here. We'll go up just a little bit more. Right there. Right there. Okay, and we'll do the same thing right here. We're going to just score it. Just to cut the drywall paper. Do the exact same thing right here now. Sorry about my back to you. Okay. All right, so that's where we're going to cut it around. Now, there's two different ways you can do it. One, you can get a saw, like this, a drywall saw. You can go in here and you can cut it down like that. But if you don't have this, and you have just a blade, like a hacksaw blade, you could also use a hacksaw blade. All right? So what we're going to do now, we're going to come in here, and we're going to catch this in here. And now we're just going to cut down. Let me show you what I mean with the hacksaw blade. You could also do the same thing with the hacksaw blade. Just go in here and you can cut down just like that. And you're following that line that you actually cut. Okay, so you can use a hacksaw blade or you can use a regular drywall saw. I choose to use the drywall saw. We're going to do it right here now, and we're going to cut over. Of course, you want to make sure you have something on the floor so you don't make a mess for yourself, which we do. Okay. Now we'll cut it across. Okay. Next, we're going to use a utility knife, and we're going to cut that down further with the utility knife, and the reason because there's a stud right there. So that's what we're going to do now with the utility knife. We're just going to cut it. See what I mean about it mushroomed out behind it? It looks like that, and there's no way to get that out without ripping a big hole in the wall. All right, so we'll put that down there, and now we're just going to clean this up inside here a little bit, where our new drywall is going to go, just like that. Okay. All right. Now we'll just cut this off here. I'll show you in a second as soon as I do it. Okay, nice and straight. Now we're just going to come in here with the utility knife, and we're going to cut off any kind of little bumpy area or anything that seems like it's elevated slightly. Okay, so now we have our opening cut out from where the old technology was. Now we know that it was 3.5 by 7. So we're going to go in the garage now, and we're going to cut the back piece out 3.5 by 7. But let me show you what we're going to do here. We're going to leave an additional piece of paper on here so that we can use that to actually seal this up. Now, I want to point one other thing out to you. If you're not sure what size sheetrock you have, sometimes it'll be 3/8, sometimes it'll be 1/2 inch. Grab yourself a ruler and measure it and see. Okay, so now we have here, we have 1/2 inch, so we know we're in good shape. All right, so let's go inside and cut that piece out, and we'll patch this up. So now we're in the garage. We have our sheetrock laid out. Now remember, this way here was 3.5 inches. So we had 3.5 by 7. So the exact size is going to be 3.5 by 7, but we want to make it a little bit longer. Instead of being 3.5, we're going to make it so we have 1 inch on this side and 1 inch on this side. So 3.5, we're going to make it actually 5.5, because that'll give us 1 inch here and 1 inch here. Okay, so we're going to do 5 1/2 inches right here. 5.5. We're going to do 5.5 again right here. Okay, and now we know it was 7, but we want to have 1 inch here and 1 inch here, so we're going to make it 9. So we're going to go 9 inches now, which is right here and right here. Okay, so now we know we're going to cut along those lines right there. We're going to cut this way. And we're also going to cut this way, but we are going to do it from the back, just so you know. Okay, so just like this. So now we have 5.5, and here we should have 9, which we do. Okay, so after we have it laid out now, we're going to come in here. We're going to put our straight edge on it, just like this. We're going to take our utility knife, make sure you have a nice sharp blade in there. Okay, and we're going to cut it very slow, very easily. We're just going to score it easy, just like that. Now each time you score it, you just go slightly deeper. Okay, so now we have it marked. We're going to cut it through the rest of the way. We're going to put a piece of wood underneath it so we can cut a straight line. Okay, so now we have it cut through. On this side, we're going to just take this, do like that, take our utility knife, and just cut right along the crease, just like that. Okay, and now we have our patch. Now, remember, we had to make it 9 inches by 5.5. So that's what we have, 9 inches by 5.5. So we're going to turn it over now, and we're going to measure in 1 inch this way. Right here. We're going to measure in 1 inch here again. One inch on this side, of course. And then, of course, we're going to measure in 1 inch this way. Okay, so now we have our marks. Let's just get in here, and we're going to draw a line. Draw a line this way here as well. Okay, so now this should be 3.5 this way, and it should be 7 this way. So let's measure it and make sure. 3.5 and 7. So now this is our patch right in here. I hope you can see that. Okay. Next, we're going to take our utility knife, and on the back of the drywall, we're going to cut that line here, 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 and here. Okay. So we're going to do it now, just like this. Okay, so now that we have it cut along the back, we're just going to take this and bend it down, just like that. Making sure you don't damage this part here, the paper, okay? Then we're going to take this and we're going to peel off just the back, leaving the paper attached. See? Just like that. As I said, we're going to clean off this part right here. We don't need this on there. We want that off. So we're going to clean that off a little bit here. And there you go. The paper is still on here, just like this. Next, we're going to go inside now, and we're going to take this in the wall, and we're going to see if it fits in there nice and tight. And next, we're going to take our patch, put our patch in here, and see if it fits okay there. You can see it fits in there nice. Okay, but we have that little border around the outside. Why do we have that border on there? Because normally you would cut a piece and put it in here, and then you would have to put tape, 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 tape. With this, you don't have to. We already have the tape attached to our stock right here. So now we're going to take this, we're going to put on here drywall spackle, and we're going to attach this to the wall. Okay, so what we're going to do is we'll put drywall spackle all around this here, just like this. You want to use quite a bit actually, because you want it to really dry, nice and solid, and pull everything in. So we're just going to put a little bit around the outside, just like this. Same thing up here. We're going to take our patch, and we're going to put some spackle on the outside of the patch, because we want this patch to dry right to the wall so that it actually becomes one solid piece, just like that. I'm going to put a little bit in there as well. Okay. Next, we're going to take our patch, and we're going to put our patch in the wall just the way that we had it here, just like this, and push it in. Okay. Next, we're going to push the paper down into the drywall spackle, just like that. And now we'll just smooth it down. Okay, so now our drywall patch is in, the spackle is on. We're going to let the spackle dry for a little while, and then we'll come back here and we'll put our first coat of finishing spackle over the top of this patch. Okay, so now after it's dried a little bit, we're going to come in here with our first coat, and we're going to put it over the top, and we'll start to get this job finished off. Okay, so for today, this is finished. We're going to let this dry thoroughly overnight. Once it dries overnight, we'll come in here with some sandpaper. We'll sand it very lightly, and then we'll need to put one more coat of the spackle over the top of this to finish this job off. So we'll be back tomorrow, and we'll finish this job off. Go ahead. Okay, so now after our spackle has dried and it's ready to have it sanded down, so we could put our second coat on it, because you'll notice that it's not perfectly smooth yet. What we're going to do is, instead of sanding it with sandpaper right now, because as you know, spackle dust gets all over the place and it makes quite a mess, we're just going to take a sponge, a damp sponge, and we're going to continue to work around the outside of it to try to smooth it off so that it's perfectly even with the rest of the walls. And then we'll come in here with our spackle. or drywall compound, and we'll put another coat on it. And our final coat, we will sand it with sandpaper, but we're just trying to minimize the amount of dust in the house, because no matter what you do, spackle dust seems to get everywhere. Next we come in with our drywall spackle, and we go over the top of the patch that we just put in after it's thoroughly dried, of course. We come in here and we try to make it as smooth as we possibly can. Remember, the smoother you make it, the easier it is to sand it off later on once it dries with our final coat. All right, so let's continue with this, smooth it off, and we'll see how it comes out. Okay, so now after we smoothed out the spackle until it's fairly smooth and we took all of the little bumps out of it, we are going to have to sand this again one time more when it dries up. But once it dries, we'll come in here with our sanding block, sand it down, and then you'll be able to put some paint over it, and it'll be as if it was never there before. All right, so once this dries, we'll come back and we'll finish this off. All right, so as you can see, repair of the wall is really not that difficult. Just make sure that after you do the repair on the wall and you're sanding it, whether you're wet sanding it or dry sanding it with sandpaper and a sanding block, when you're in here sanding, use your hand to feel to make sure that there's no bumpy area. What you don't want is you don't want a transition area between here and here. You want to be able to run your hand down it and not even feel a bump or anything else inside there. Now, I will give you one more word of advice. When you're sanding, do not go up and down like this. What I normally do is go on the diagonal like this. It makes it less visible when you are sanding it. All right, and that's it. We're going to clean it all off, get the dust off of it, of course, paint it, and you'll never even know that the old technology was ever in this wall before. All right, that's it. This job is done, and we're on to the next one. All right, if you like this video, please subscribe down below, and you can highlight, when the bell comes up, you can highlight the bell to be notified of future uploads. All right, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.